Hey everyone, it's Dennis. So this is the beginning of the end of my drinking. This is the most important part where I actually, the miracle happens, as we say. And it is a miracle for any alcoholic to stop drinking. That is a miracle because it is not natural for an alcoholic to not drink. And it is not it is a miracle for any alcoholic to have a normal, good life. So here I am. I'm living at my mom's. I'm in my 30s. I going to AA, and I'm drinking, and it was pretty miserable. My mother was all over me for my drinking. She would search and find them, and she'd flush them down the sink, and it was just a terrible period. And she would watch me. Sometimes she'd take away my keys so I wouldn't go out and get a bottle. Never really worked. If I wanted to get a drink, I would get a drink. Once in a while, it would not happen. There was one time where she tried to take away my alcohol, and it was a disaster because I physically I was dependent upon it, and I had a seizure. And I was sitting in the chair while she was, and I'm going through DTs, and I had a seizure where I bit off a chunk of my tongue, and there was blood everywhere. And it was just because I was without alcohol, and you can't just do that sometimes. It's medically a really bad idea to just take alcohol away from somebody who's dependent upon it. True of other drugs as well. So this was my life at this point. I was drinking a lot, even though she was trying to stop me, but you can't. I was working, and on my way home, I'd pick up a drink or a bottle and whatever. And I'm still going to AA. I lost my license because of drinking. I wasn't actually driving, but I was in my car, and a police officer came and they hauled me away, and I was it was just a terrible time. So, so these things are going on, and I'm going to AA, but something started to change in my going to AA. I started doing AA half-assed, and I was going to meetings sometimes and saying I was going to meetings, but sometimes not. Sometimes drinking when I was going to meetings, and sometimes I was, I would show up at meetings drunk, and I would never go to the same meeting twice, and I would show up late or leave early or both, and never make eye contact, never want to talk to anybody, never wanted to meet anybody. But then I started going to a meeting that met every single morning early. Started at 7, and then they changed it to 6 a.m. and I was going every single morning. And the thing is about that, I started talking to, it was a small meeting, and I started talking to people. Whether I wanted to or not, I kind of had to. You're in the same place every single day. It's a small group. You're sitting around in a circle, and I started making connections, and I started liking these people, and I didn't really understand them. What did they want from me? Why were they so nice to me? Why did they want me to do well? What was in it for them? And that's the way my mind was, and I didn't really understand how AA worked, really. I mean, I understood what it did, but I didn't understand how it worked. To be honest, I really don't understand how it works like it does, but I don't need to understand everything. I just need to know that it does work and that I go there. But anyway, so I'm going to AA, and these people are starting to make a difference in my life, and I'm starting to make connections, and they're starting to I'm starting to look at myself through these meetings. There were step meetings, there were big book meetings, there were a lot of different kinds of meetings at this one place every single day. And I started really examining myself, and I started coming to the conclusion that, all of my problems are really from my drinking. And if I stopped drinking, maybe my problems would go away. So, but I'm still drinking, and I couldn't figure out how to stop. So I'm going to tell you one last time of my drinking. So I bought a bottle, the big giant jug of vodka, Smirnoff Red I would drink. And so I was on my way home from work and I drank the entire bottle within about 10 minutes. That was a lot even for me. The whole thing, just, right? Drink it right down. And that, like I said, that was a lot even for me. And luckily I worked from about 10-15 minutes away from the house. So I drove home right away, and because it didn't quite hit me yet. So I was able to drive. If there was like a traffic jam or something like that, I'd be in big trouble. But anyway, so I got home in time, and I got home, and then immediately it started hitting me. And my mother saw that this was more than usual drinking for Dennis. I was legless. I was close to really just being comatose, and she had it. She called the ambulance. They came, they took me out. I don't remember much of that, except there was one thing that I do remember. So here I am, drunk as anything, and they put me in the ambulance, and then for a brief moment, I was lucid, sober, like I am right now. I was just completely sober, and I said to my mother, "You will never have to do this again." She never heard me say that before. I never really made promises that I would never drink again. I never did that because I knew that was ridiculous for me. So she never heard me say that, and I went back to being drunk. So there was a little moment of, a spiritual bing hit me when I was able to do that. And so there it was. They took me out, they detoxed me and all that, and then I went back home, and the real work began, living with the obsession to drink but not drinking. It was murder. It was horrendous. It slowly began to dissipate, the obsession. Like 6 months it took before I noticed the obsession was gone. And it was terrible, and I kept my mind busy, and I kept doing things. Mostly what I kept doing was working in AA, understanding the principles and how it worked, and the steps, and started working the steps with my sponsor. My sponsor was with me all through this, and thank God for my sponsor. He just helped me along, put up with my nonsense, and there was a lot of nonsense. There's always nonsense in early sobriety, just we know, and it's expected, and it's good to hear it, actually, to remind you where you are. So here I am, 6 months, and I'm still not drinking, and I'm going to AA, and I'm doing all these things, trying to make myself busy. I learned how to sail. That was something I always wanted to do. And I had a saltwater aquarium that I put my life into, and I read a lot of books, and I discovered a lot of things that were interesting to me that I always wanted to do, and I never did. I would do a lot of hiking and mountain climbing, and rode my bike a lot, and I used to build these little wooden ships and just anything to keep my mind and my hands busy, so I wasn't thinking about drinking. And so I will say that after 1 year of sobriety, I celebrated a year at that morning meeting, and it was one of the most important days, if not the most important day of my life, that 1 year. And it was, my mother went to that meeting where I celebrated the year, and she cried a lot, and it was amazing to have a year sobriety. Only another alcoholic can understand that, or addict, and it was just a wonderful thing, 1 year of sobriety for me. And so then the sobriety began, and then another part of my life began, and things started getting better, a lot better. Relationships got better, my life got better, my career became more of an ambition, and things got more challenging there. And so life just got better once I stopped drinking. And it wasn't just stop drinking, it was finding a sobriety, and a God-driven sobriety. My relationship with my higher power was tremendously important. My God is always so important to me, and there it is. the miracle began.